Medicaid. We've spoken about different types of trusts. Today, I don't know who that guest is today, that Joe Markell. But wait, the phone is ringing. You know, didn't I tell you to turn off the phone? This is an important show.
Sorry,
David. Let me take this phone call. Hello, who's calling?
Chris Whalen, CPA, calling for David Crossan, please.
It's not tax season, is it?
I think it's very much tax season, David.
Well, good timing. Thank you very much for calling in. Boy, this doesn't seem scripted at all, does it, Zach?
No, not at all.
When we were here at 3:30 this morning going over today's show, we definitely didn't put this in the show. But, Chris, thank you so much for calling in. I know you're a very, very busy man, but it is tax season. And each week we are putting different things out there that are so important for people, well, filing their taxes and different things they have to do this time of year. So can I ask you a question since you called in this morning?
Of course.
All right, you ready? He's like, okay,
Yes.
What are you going to ask me on the air today? You know what? I want to talk about estimated taxes. You know, you hear about it. Certain people do it. You hear it for people that are working. You hear about it for retirees that are doing it. Can you explain what estimated taxes, what it actually is, and why people would actually set up to pay their taxes in that way?
Many people during the year have income other than, say, their job, their wages income. And so we need to make sure that we budget for taxes to pay on that other income during the year as well. So, for example, many seniors who get Social Security may pay taxes on up to 85% of their Social Security benefits and not realize it depending on their income. And so my clients in that situation will pay basically estimated taxes over time during the year to make sure that we accommodate the tax liability and we're not surprised that the next coming April.
Okay, so now how would somebody set this up? Typically they would go to their CPA, go through what they actually need to do. Is it a pretty simple process to set up with the CPA, or is this something somebody would have to set up themselves?
It's an extremely simple process to set up with your accountant. And then the payments can be made online today. In the past, many of your listeners might recall sending in vouchers with checks. But for federal and state payments now, we can get them set up online pretty simply to make sure that you're not underpaid for the tax liability you have.
Now, Chris, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. You send out some excellent newsletters, and you talked about 5 different points that people should be aware of with estimated taxes. Would you be kind enough to share that with the listeners today?
Sure. The first is that if you expect to owe $1,000 or more during any year, you need to set up estimated taxes, and the IRS would expect you to. It's very important to remember that you cannot simply pay a large tax bill with your taxes on April 15th. You might be in a late payment situation, and those penalties can be very, very high. Okay, that's number one. Estimated tax payments are made quarterly in April, June, September, and then January. That's very important to know. There's 4 times a year you can pay your estimates.
Sorry to interrupt you. So it must go along with that schedule, or can it be adjusted?
Well, sometimes people do have cases where we have a sudden inflow of income. We could sell stocks. We could get some other kind of windfall, and then we could do a payment just based any time of the year based on that new situation.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, and this is something we talked about off air. And people at this time, they get busy. They're trying to file for their taxes on time, and maybe they owe money. So people may say, "Hey, Chris, you know what? I'm going to file for an extension." What exactly are they doing?
Well, when you file an extension, you can get an extension of time to file your taxes, but that is not an extension of time to pay any money you have owed on April 15th. This is a very big mistake. The IRS can even negate your extension if you haven't paid enough money on April 15th. I see this happen very often. So that's a very important point. Even if you're on extension, it is only to extend the paper filing, not the financial liability you might have.
All right, so that's good to bring up because I think some people think, okay, I owe X amount, I'm going to file for an extension, and that way it kind of kicks the can down the curb. I'll deal with it later. What you're actually saying to me is, well, I can file at a later date, but I really need to pay now or deal with penalties or interest if I do not.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. I want to go one other area. Boy, it's a good thing you called in this morning. You're like, David, I just called in to say hi, and now you're asking all these questions on the air. Charitable deductions. May I ask, I know we had talked about this on a case that you and I were discussing about different things that people should be concerned about when they do look for different deductions when it comes to charities.
Well, number one, you really need to have a receipt for a charitable contribution, usually. But many times it's not possible to get one. And we're talking about Salvation Army buckets and things like that at the end of the year. So everyone should write down all of their contributions, whether they have a receipt or not, and take take them all on their tax return. It's very important.
Okay, because that's a big thing where, different people, have different deductions for the course of the year. And I guess the big thing is if there was some sort of an audit, you have to show proof that, well, this actually took place or some sort of receipt from the charity itself. Do you find that that's the way to go is if there is such a contribution, if you will, or to a charity to request a receipt from the company or I should say to the charity that you're actually giving it to?
Yes, whenever possible, get a receipt on letterhead from the organization to which you made the contribution, of course.
Okay. All right. Chris, I think I wore you out this morning. How's everything going, by the way?
Everything's very, very good. It's a great tax season. I'm enjoying the past few weeks dealing with your listeners and clients. It's been a very good if you get to know them. Please have them. They can continue to call me with their questions at my office. My number is 732-673-0510, or they can reach me on my website at www.chriswhalencpa.com.
Chris, I certainly appreciate excellent information. And you know what? If we can lean on you through tax season, that'll be tremendous because it's so important right now as people are filing different things that are coming up. I know I can call you at any time, it seems, and you're able to pick up the phone and have this conversation. From the lighter side of finance, I want to thank you.
Thank you, David.
Well, Zach, I think we should, maybe have